The medical bay of the Indomitable was crowded with rescued prisoners. Taemin sat on a bed while a doctor checked his injuries. Around him, other humans were being treated. Some had been prisoners for weeks, some for months. All looked thin and tired, but their eyes burned with something the Vorath had failed to break. Admiral Sung-ho walked through the bay, stopping at each bed to speak with the survivors. When he reached Taemin, the admiral pulled up a chair. "Captain Taemin, your distress call saved a lot of lives." "We just did what we had to do," Taemin said. "But Admiral, there's something you need to know. The aliens in the cells with us, they said the Vorath broke some kind of ancient law by taking humans." Sung-ho frowned. "What law?" They wouldn't explain much, but they seemed scared, not of us, of what would happen because of what the Vorath did. Before Sung-ho could respond, Bora rushed into the medical bay. Her face was pale. "Admiral, we have a problem. A big problem." They moved to the briefing room. Bora pulled up a tactical display. Red markers appeared across multiple star systems. Vorath fleets are mobilizing. Not just one or two ships. Entire battle groups. Bora zoomed in on 3 systems, and they're heading toward human colonies. Harvest 7, New Soul, and Bright Hope. "How many ships?" Sung-ho asked. "Over 100 warships. Maybe more." Bora looked sick. "They're not here to capture anyone this time. Intelligence intercepts suggest they're coming to wipe out the colonies." The room went silent. 100 warships against 3 lightly defended colonies. It would be a massacre. "Get me command," Sung-ho said. "We need the entire fleet mobilized now." Jiwoo, who had been cleared from medical and was listening from the doorway, stepped forward. "Admiral, they're doing this because we fought back. Because we rescued our people." "No," Sung-ho said firmly. "They're doing this because they're bullies. And bullies don't stop until someone makes them stop." Earth Defense Command went into full war mode. Every ship was called up. Reserves were activated. Construction yards went to 24-hour shifts building new vessels. Weapons factories ran non-stop, but it would take time. Time the colonies didn't have. At Harvest 7, the colonists received the warning. They had 3 days before the Vorath arrived. Governor Park stood before the colony's few thousand residents. "I won't lie to you. A massive enemy fleet is coming. Earth is sending help, but it might not arrive in time." He paused. "Anyone who wants to evacuate has that right. But I'm staying. This is our home." To his surprise, most people stayed. They weren't soldiers. They were farmers, teachers, engineers, families. But they started building defenses anyway. Started preparing to fight. Young-soo, who had been stationed at Harvest 7 before his capture, volunteered to return and help organize the defense. "You just escaped," Jae-sung told him. "You've earned rest." "I'll rest when the Vorath are gone," Young-soo said. Jae-sung nodded. "Then let's make sure you have some good weapons." Special Forces teams were sent to all 3 colonies. They brought weapons, tactical equipment, and most importantly, experience. They trained the colonists in 3 days what normally took months. Lieutenant Yoon-ji landed at New Seoul with her team. The colony was built on a planet with harsh winters. The colonists were tough people used to surviving difficult conditions. "You know how to hunt?" Yoon-ji asked a group of colonists. They nodded. "Good. Then you know how to wait, how to be patient, how to shoot straight." She handed out rifles. "We're going to turn this whole colony into a trap." At Bright Hope, Min Seo's fighter squadron set up a defensive position in orbit. They were outnumbered 50 to 1, but Min Seo had a plan. "We can't fight them head-on, but we can slow them down, make them cautious, buy time for the main fleet to arrive." She looked at her pilots. "We're going to hit and run. Make them think we have more ships than we do." Back on Earth, Ambassador Dayun stood before the Galactic Council again. The chamber was full. Everyone wanted to see what the humans would do. "The Vorath Empire has declared war on humanity," Daun said. Her voice was steady. "They are sending fleets to destroy civilian colonies, to kill innocent people, and the council sits silent." The Vorath representative stood. "The humans attacked our research vessel. Killed Vorath soldiers. They are the aggressors. You kidnapped our people," Dayun shouted. "You tortured them. Experimented on them. We catalog species. It is our right as a superior civilization." "Superior?" Dayun laughed bitterly. "You're about to learn just how wrong you are about that." She pulled out a data pad and held it up for everyone to see. "These are recordings from your prisoners. Testimony of what you did. The galaxy will see what kind of empire you really are." The recordings played on screens throughout the chamber. Images of humans being tortured, tested, treated like animals. Other alien species suffering the same fate. Species that had been silent suddenly started talking. Some expressed outrage. Others demanded investigations. The Vorath Empire's reputation took a massive hit. But it didn't stop the war. The Vorath fleet arrived at Harvest 7 first. 100 warships dropped out of hyperspace like dark clouds blocking the sun. On the colony below, alarms rang. Young Su stood at a barricade with colonists on both sides of him. They held weapons and looked scared but determined. "Remember," Young Su said, "they expect us to run, to surrender, to beg for mercy." He loaded his rifle. "We're going to show them what humans do instead." The Vorath ships opened fire on the colony's shields. The shields held for now, but everyone knew they wouldn't last long. Then something unexpected happened. The Vorath ships detected weapon signatures from the colony. Big weapons. Military-grade weapons. Commander Krell, who led the attack fleet personally, studied the sensors. Impossible. Intelligence said the colony had minimal defenses. "Humans are good at surprising people," his tactical officer said nervously. "It doesn't matter. We have overwhelming force." Krell ordered the attack to continue. The shields fell. Vorath dropships launched toward the colony. They expected easy victory. The first wave of dropships exploded in midair. Surface-to-air missiles hit them before they could land. The second wave made it down but landed in a killing zone. Colonists and soldiers opened fire from prepared positions. The Vorath had better armor, better weapons, but the humans had better tactics. They knew the terrain. They worked together, and they fought with a fury that shocked the Vorath troops. In orbit, Minseo's fighters struck. They came out of nowhere, hitting Vorath ships with precision strikes, then vanishing before the enemy could respond. They used the planet's magnetic field to hide. They used debris as cover. They fought smart. "Red 3 is down," a pilot reported. "Confirmed." "Red 3 ejected," Minseo said. She felt each loss like a knife but kept her voice steady. "All wings, continue the attack pattern. Make them work for every inch." At New Sol, the battle was different. The Vorath landed troops in a blizzard. They couldn't see more than a few feet. The colonists used this to their advantage. Yunji and her team moved through the storm like ghosts. They hit supply lines, sabotaged vehicles, disappeared before the Vorath could react. The colonists fought from their homes, from rooftops, from tunnels under the snow. It was guerrilla warfare at its finest. At Bright Hope, the colonists evacuated to underground shelters while fighters tried to hold off the orbital bombardment. The colony above ground was destroyed, but the people survived. The Vorath were winning on paper. They had more ships, more soldiers, better technology, but they were taking far more casualties than expected, and the human resistance wasn't breaking. Then the Earth Defense Fleet arrived. Admiral Sung Ho brought every ship Earth could spare. 40 warships. Hundreds of fighters, thousands of soldiers. "All ships," Sung Ho's voice came over every comm channel. "Target the command vessels. Show them what happens when you mess with humans." The battle became chaos. Human ships fought with tactics the Vorath had never seen. They were willing to sacrifice ships to save colonies, willing to take damage to protect civilians. They fought with a passion and creativity that overwhelmed Vorath battle computers. Tactical Officer Hyun Woo coordinated the fleet with precision. He found patterns in Vorath formations, exploited weaknesses, turned the Vorath's numerical advantage into a disadvantage by forcing them to fight in tight spaces where numbers didn't matter. On the ground at Harvest 7, Young Su heard the sounds of orbital fire increase. He looked up and saw human ships engaging the Vorath fleet. "They're here," he said. Then louder, "They're here."
"Earth is here."
The colonists cheered. It gave them new strength, new hope. The battle raged for hours. Ships on both sides were destroyed. People died, but slowly the Vorath began to retreat. They weren't used to enemies who fought this hard, who refused to give up. Commander Krell watched his fleet falling apart. These were supposed to be primitive mammals, easy targets. Instead, they were the most dangerous enemy he had ever faced. "Order full retreat," Krell commanded. "Sir, we still have superior numbers," his tactical officer protested. "And they're still fighting like demons," Krell shouted. "Retreat now before we lose everything." The Vorath fleet jumped away, leaving damaged ships and dead soldiers behind. Admiral Sung Ho stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the enemy flee. Around him his crew cheered. But Sung-ho didn't smile. "This isn't over," he said quietly to Bo-ra. The guards threw Taemin into a white room. It was completely empty except for a metal chair in the center. Bright lights shined down from every angle. He couldn't see the walls clearly. Couldn't see where the door was anymore. "Sit," a voice commanded through hidden speakers. Taemin sat. He kept his breathing steady. Whatever they wanted to do, he would endure it. Dr. Sylvan appeared from somewhere in the brightness. The Vorath scientist held a device that looked like a tablet covered in strange symbols. "We will start with simple questions," Dr. Sylvan said. "What is your planet's military strength?" "I'm a cargo pilot." "I don't know military secrets. How many ships does Earth have?" "I don't know." "Where are your weapons factories?" "I don't know." Dr. Sylvan made a clicking sound with its throat. "You are either very stupid or very loyal." "Maybe both," Taemin said. The lights got brighter. Hot. Taemin felt sweat running down his back. The temperature was rising. He gritted his teeth but said nothing. Hours passed. Or maybe days. Time had no meaning in the White Room. They asked questions. He gave no answers. They increased the heat.
He endured.
They blasted loud noises. He covered his ears and waited. Finally, they took him back to his cell. Jiwoo rushed to her barrier when she saw him. "What did they do to you?" Taemin collapsed on the floor of his cell. Every muscle ached. His head pounded. His throat was raw from thirst. "Nothing I couldn't handle," he managed to say. "Liar," Jiwoo said, but there was pride in her voice. Wealth watched from his cell. "They test your limits. They do this to everyone. What happens if you break?" Taemin asked. "Then they learn your species is weak, and weak species are enslaved or eliminated." Wealth moved to his barrier. "But humans do not break easily, I think." The next day, guards came for Jiwoo. She fought them every step of the way. It took 4 Vorath soldiers to drag her out of the cell. Taemin shouted and slammed his fists against the barrier, but it did nothing. When Jiwoo came back hours later, she was limping. Blood ran from a cut on her forehead, but her eyes burned with anger. "They made me run on machines," she said, breathing hard. "Made me lift weights. Made me solve puzzles while they shocked me with electricity." She sat down and wiped blood from her face. "I beat every test they gave me." Taemin felt pride swell in his chest. That was humanity right there. Stubborn. Refusing to quit. Days turned into weeks. They came for Taemin again and again. Each time the tests got harder. Each time he survived. They came for Jiwoo too. Each time she came back more determined than before. One day new prisoners arrived in their section. Taemin heard shouting in human language. His heart jumped. 2 more humans were thrown into nearby cells. A woman with short black hair and fierce eyes. A man with broad shoulders and scars on his arms. "Who are you?" Taemin called out. The woman looked up. "A1. I'm from Harvest 7 colony. They took me 3 weeks ago." The man stood and gripped his barrier with strong hands. "Youngsu. I was a merchant marine. Before that, I was a combat engineer in Earth Defense Force." "Earth Defense Force?" Jiwoo perked up. "You have military training?" 10 years of it, Youngsu said. "I know how to fight. How to build weapons from nothing. How to break things that need breaking." "Good," Jiwoo said with a grin. "Because we're getting out of here." Haewon shook her head. "I've been planning escape for weeks. There's no way. Too many guards. Too many locked doors. And these barriers will fry you if you touch them wrong." "Then we don't touch them wrong," Youngsu said. He studied the barrier carefully. "These energy fields have a rhythm, a pulse. I can see it if I watch long enough." Taemin moved closer to his barrier. "What are you thinking?" "Every system has a weakness. Every machine has a flaw." Youngsu pointed at the ceiling. "See those conduits? They carry power to all the cells. If we could cause an overload in one cell, it might surge through the whole system. And shut down all the barriers," Jiwoo finished. "For maybe 30 seconds, Youngsu said. "That's all we would get," Wealth spoke up from his cell. 30 seconds is not enough to escape this ship." "No," Taemin agreed. "But it's enough to take weapons from guards. Enough to take control of this section." "And then what?" Haewon asked. "We're on a warship with thousands of Vorath soldiers. Then we find our way to the communications array," Youngsu said. "Send a distress signal to Earth, let them know where we are." "You assume Earth will come for us," Wealth said quietly. "They will," all 4 humans said at the same time. Wealth's eyes widened slightly. You have great faith in your people. It's not faith, Taemin said. It's fact. Humans don't leave their people behind. Over the next few days they planned in whispers. Young-soo explained how to overload the power system. Ji-woo, with her engineering knowledge, refined the plan. Hae-won memorized guard patrol schedules. Taemin tried to map the ship layout from what little he had seen. The Vorath continued their experiments. Dr. Sylvan seemed frustrated. Commander Krell visited the containment level personally one day. These humans are proving difficult to categorize, Dr. Sylvan told the commander. Their pain tolerance is abnormally high. Their problem-solving abilities exceed their technological level. Their willpower is unlike anything in our database. Are they dangerous? Krell asked. Potentially very dangerous, Dr. Sylvan admitted. I recommend we limit the number of specimens we collect. No, Krell said. I want more. Their planet has billions of them. We will take thousands for study. Perhaps they will make good soldiers for the Empire once we break them properly. After Krell left, Young-soo whispered across the cells. Did you hear that? They're going after more of us, going after Earth colonies. Then we move tonight, Taemin said. Tonight? Hae-won looked nervous. We're not ready. We'll never be ready, Ji-woo said. But if we don't act now, more humans will end up in cells like these. Or worse. When the lights dimmed for sleep cycle, Young-soo went to work. He had been hoarding small pieces of metal from meal trays. He had been watching the barrier's pulse for days. Now he carefully pushed a piece of metal through the barrier at the exact moment the pulse was weakest. It took 3 tries. On the 3rd try, the metal touched the power conduit behind the barrier. Sparks flew. The conduit overloaded exactly as Young-soo predicted. Every barrier in the section flickered and died. Now, Taemin shouted. All 4 humans rushed out of their cells. Other aliens stayed in their cells, confused or too afraid to move. But not Wealth. The old Praxian limped out and nodded at Taemin. I will help if I can. Guards came running. They didn't expect prisoners to be free. Young-soo tackled the first one and took its weapon. Ji-woo grabbed another guard by the arm and twisted it until the guard dropped its weapon. Hae-won fought with pure rage, years of imprisonment exploding in her fists. Taemin picked up a dropped weapon. It was heavy and strange in his hands, but he figured out the trigger quickly enough. More guards poured in. The humans fought like cornered animals, fought like nothing the Vorath had ever seen. They used tactics the Vorath couldn't predict. They worked together without speaking. They fought like humans. Alarms blared throughout the ship. The escape had begun. Commander Krell stood on the bridge of the Void Seeker, watching reports flood in. The humans have escaped containment, an officer reported. They have weapons. They have taken Section 7. Send all security teams, Krell ordered. Kill them if necessary. Dr. Sylvan approached the commander. I warned you they were dangerous. They are 4 individuals on a ship with 3,000 soldiers, Krell said. They will be recaptured or eliminated within the hour. But deep in the ship's systems, a signal was being sent. A coded message was being broadcast on human frequencies. Help was coming. The conference room at Earth Defense Command was filled with worried faces. Admiral Sung-ho stood at the head of the table, looking at the star map projected above them. Red dots marked where ships had gone missing. That's 7 cargo vessels in 2 months, said Bora, the intelligence officer. Her fingers danced across her tablet, pulling up data. All disappeared in the same sector. No distress calls. No wreckage. Just gone. Pirates? Someone suggested. No pirate group has this capability, Bora said. She pulled up another screen. But 3 hours ago, we detected a burst transmission on emergency frequencies. It was heavily encrypted, but I managed to decode part of it. She played the audio. Static filled the room, then a voice broke through. It was distorted but human. This is cargo ship Morning Star. Captured by hostile aliens. Vorath Empire. They have more humans. Need immediate assistance. Coordinates follow. The transmission cut off. The room erupted in angry voices. Admiral Sung-ho raised his hand for silence. How many people were on the Morning Star? He asked quietly. 2, Bora answered. Captain Taemin and Engineer Ji-woo. And they said there are more humans? Yes, sir. The transmission mentioned other captives. Sung-ho looked at the star map again. His jaw was set in a hard line. He had gray hair and old scars from Earth's last war, back when humans fought each other. Now they faced something bigger. Prepare the fleet, he said. We're going to get our people back. Sir, we don't know what we're facing. an officer protested. This Vorath Empire could be massive, could have weapons we can't fight. I don't care if they have 1,000 ships, Sung Ho said, his voice cold as space. They have our people. That means we go. Across Earth, the news spread fast. Humans were being held prisoner by aliens. The public demanded action. The government scrambled to respond. But the military was already moving. Sung Ho's flagship, the Indomitable, launched from Mars Orbital Station. 12 other warships followed. Destroyers, frigates, and one heavy carrier loaded with fighter craft. It wasn't the entire Earth defense fleet, but it was enough to make a statement. On the carrier, a young woman named Min Seo sat in her fighter cockpit, running pre-flight checks. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet. Quick reflexes. Fearless, she had volunteered immediately when she heard about the mission. All pilots, this is your squadron leader, she spoke into her comm. We're going into unknown territory, facing an unknown enemy, but we're bringing our people home. Understood. Understood, a dozen voices answered. In another part of the fleet, Jae-sung was briefing his special forces team. They were the best soldiers Earth had, trained for boarding actions and hostile rescues. We don't know the layout of enemy ships. We don't know their weapons. We don't know how many hostiles we'll face, Jae-sung said to his troops. But we do know one thing. There are humans who need us, and we will not fail them. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Yoonji, checked her rifle. Sir, what if the prisoners are already dead? Then we make sure their deaths are avenged, Jae-sung said simply. The fleet jumped through space faster than light. It would take days to reach the coordinates from the transmission. Days of preparation. Days of worry. On Earth, Ambassador Daeyeon stood before the Galactic Council. The council was a massive station where hundreds of alien species met to discuss laws and trade. Humans were new members. Most species barely acknowledged them. Daeyeon walked to the speaking platform. She was a small woman, but her voice carried across the chamber. Members of the council, I come before you with a grave accusation. The Vorath Empire has kidnapped human citizens. They are being held against their will. We demand their immediate release. A Vorath representative stood. It was tall and covered in purple scales. Its 4 eyes looked down at Daeyeon with contempt. The humans lie. The Vorath Empire has captured no one. Perhaps these ships were lost to navigation errors. Humans are new to space travel. Mistakes are expected. We have proof, Daeyeon said. She played the transmission for the entire council. Murmurs ran through the chamber. Some species looked shocked. Others looked nervous. But most looked away, unwilling to get involved. This proves nothing, the Vorath representative said. A garbled transmission could be fabricated. Are you calling me a liar? Daeyeon's voice was ice. I am saying humans jump to conclusions. The Vorath representative smiled, showing sharp teeth. Your species is young, emotional. You do not understand how things work in this galaxy. Then teach us, Daeyeon said. Return our people. Or face the consequences. The Vorath laughed. Actually laughed. Consequences. From a species that barely has 20 colony worlds? We have conquered 1,000 systems. Your threats are meaningless. Before Daeyeon could respond, something strange happened. Several representatives from the oldest species in the council stood up and walked out. They said nothing, just left. These were species that had been in the galaxy for millions of years. The Praxians, the Luminals, the Keepers of Time. Species that rarely spoke and never took sides. Their departure made everyone nervous. A Luminal paused at the door. It was a being made of pure light, barely visible in a containment suit. It turned and spoke in a voice that sounded like music. The law has been broken. The awakening is permitted. Let none interfere. Then it was gone. The council chamber fell silent. No one knew what that meant, but everyone felt the weight of it. Daeyeon left the council with no help. No allies, but she didn't feel defeated. She sent a message to Admiral Sung Ho. The council won't help. You're authorized to use any force necessary. Sung Ho's reply was simple. Understood. We're almost there. Aboard the Void Seeker, the situation was getting desperate. Taemin and his group had taken control of a communications array, but Vorath soldiers surrounded their position. They were trapped in a small room with limited weapons and ammunition. How long until they breach? Young-Soo asked. He was setting up explosive charges on the door. Minutes, Jiwoo said. She was trying to send another transmission, but the Vorath were jamming all frequencies now. Haewon looked at the group. We're not getting out of this, are we? Maybe not, Taemin said. But we got the message out. Earth knows where we are. Earth is coming. You really believe that? Haewon asked. Yes, Taemin said with absolute certainty. The door exploded inward. Vorath soldiers poured in. The humans fought. They fought with everything they had. Youngsu detonated his charges, taking out the first wave. Jiwoo threw equipment at the soldiers. Haewon fought hand to hand. They were losing, being pushed back, running out of ammunition. Then the ship shook. A massive impact that threw everyone to the floor. What was that? A Vorath soldier shouted. Another impact. And another. The lights flickered. On the bridge, Commander Krell stared at the sensors in disbelief. Ships approaching. 13 vessels. Human design. 13 ships? Krell laughed. We have 40 warships in this sector. They come to their deaths. But Tactical Officer Hyunwoo aboard the Indomitable had other plans. He had spent the journey studying every scrap of intelligence about Vorath ship designs. He had found weaknesses. Target their shield generators, Hyunwoo told the weapons officer. Ignore the armor. Hit them where it hurts. The human fleet opened fire. Their weapons were less advanced than Vorath weapons. Their ships were smaller. But their tactics were completely unexpected. Min Seo led her fighter squadron through the Vorath fleet like a swarm of angry wasps. They didn't fight fair. They didn't follow standard patterns. They hit weak points and ran. They worked together in ways the Vorath couldn't predict. This is Red Leader, Min Seo called over the comm. Target the command ship. That's where our people are. 20 fighters screamed toward the Void Seeker. Vorath Point Defense tried to stop them, but the human pilots were too fast, too unpredictable. They strafed the ship's hull, creating openings for boarding craft. Special forces away, Jae-sung reported as his team launched in armored pods. The pods slammed into the Void Seeker's hull and cut through. Jae-sung and his team poured into the ship, weapons ready. They moved through corridors like ghosts, fast, efficient, deadly. Every Vorath soldier they met went down. They didn't stop, didn't slow down. Lieutenant Yoonji led the second team. They had one mission: find the prisoners. Inside the communications room, Taemin heard the sounds of battle getting closer. But not Vorath battle cries. Something else. Something human. The door burst open. Soldiers in Earth Defense Force armor stormed in. The lead soldier pulled off her helmet. Lieutenant Yoonji grinned. Sorry we're late. Traffic was terrible. Taemin felt tears in his eyes. They came. Earth actually came for them. There are more prisoners. Containment level, he said quickly. We know. Already breaching it, Yoonji said. She handed weapons to the rescued humans. But right now we need to get off this ship. The battle raged throughout the Vorath fleet. Admiral Sung-ho watched from the bridge of the Indomitable. Commander Krell is retreating, Bo-ra reported. Let him run, Sung-ho said. We have what we came for. The human fleet withdrew, taking the rescued prisoners with them. They had damaged several Vorath ships, destroyed 3, lost only 1 destroyer. As they jumped away, Sung-ho made a broadcast to the Vorath Empire. You took our people. We took them back. Next time we won't be so forgiving. The cargo ship Morning Star drifted through the quiet darkness of space. Inside the cockpit, Taemin checked the navigation screens while humming an old song from Earth. He was a simple man with a simple job. Transport medical supplies from one colony to another. Get paid, go home. Nothing complicated. We're 3 hours from Harvest 7, Jiwoo called from the engineering station behind him. She wiped grease from her hands with a cloth. The coolant system was acting up again, but I fixed it. Taemin smiled. What would I do without you? Crash and burn, probably, Jiwoo said with a grin. They had been working together for 5 years. Taemin trusted her with his life. Out here in deep space, far from Earth and its crowded cities, trust was everything. The colony worlds were scattered across this sector like seeds in the wind. Humans were still new to space travel, still learning, still exploring. The alarm blared without warning. Taemin's hands flew across the controls. What is that? Jiwoo rushed to her station. Her eyes went wide. Ship, massive ship. Coming out of nowhere. On the screen, something enormous appeared. It was 10 times the size of their small cargo vessel. Maybe bigger. The hull was dark purple and covered in strange symbols. Weapon ports lined its sides like the teeth of some metal beast. Try to hail them, Taemin said. His voice was steady, but his heart pounded. Jiwoo worked the communications panel. No response. They're not answering. A beam of light shot from the massive ship. It wrapped around the morning star like a rope. The cargo ship shuddered. Taemin pulled at the controls, but nothing happened. They were caught. Tractor beam, Jiwoo whispered. We can't break free. The massive ship pulled them closer. A docking bay opened in its side like a dark mouth. The morning star had no choice but to go inside. The bay doors closed behind them with a heavy thud that echoed through the hull. Taemin unbuckled his safety straps. Stay close to me. Jiwoo grabbed a heavy wrench from the toolkit. If they want to fight, let's see what they want first, Taemin said. The airlock hissed. Something was connecting to their ship. Taemin and Jiwoo stood in the cargo bay waiting. The door opened. Creatures walked in. They stood on two legs like humans, but that was where the similarity ended. Their skin was gray and covered in rough scales. 4 eyes sat on their narrow faces. They wore armor that looked like it was made from black metal and bone. Each one carried a weapon that hummed with energy. The tallest creature stepped forward. When it spoke, a device on its chest translated the words into human language. You are now prisoners of the Vorath Empire. Resistance will result in death. Prisoners? Taemin stepped forward. We haven't done anything wrong. We're just cargo haulers. The creature's 4 eyes studied him like he was an insect. Your species is new, unknown. You will be studied. Studied? Jiwoo gripped her wrench tighter. We're not animals. That remains to be determined, the creature said. More Vorath soldiers surrounded them. There were too many. Taemin looked at Jiwoo and shook his head slightly. Not yet. Fighting now would get them killed. They were marched through endless corridors. The ship was enormous. Taemin saw other aliens working at stations or being herded by guards. This was a military vessel. A warship. And they were in serious trouble. The Vorath took them to a large chamber. A creature in more elaborate armor stood on a raised platform. This one had markings on its scales and wore a cape made of some shimmering material. I am Commander Krell, it said. You are the first humans we have captured. Your planet is primitive. Your technology is weak. You are nothing in this galaxy. Then why capture us? Taemin asked. Because we catalog everything, another Vorath said. This one wore no armor but a long coat covered in pockets and devices. I am Dr. Sylvan. I study species. I learn what makes them strong or weak, what makes them survive or die. We're people, not experiments, Jiwoo said. Dr. Sylvan's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Everything is an experiment if you ask the right questions. Commander Krell waved a clawed hand. Take them to the containment level. Begin standard protocols. The guards dragged them away. Taemin tried to memorize the route, counting turns and doors. Always good to know the way out, even if escape seemed impossible. The containment level was a prison. Rows of cells lined the walls. Each cell held different aliens. Some looked reptilian. Others were covered in fur or feathers. Some were shapes Taemin couldn't even describe. All of them looked defeated. Taemin was thrown into one cell. Jiwoo was pushed into another across the corridor. The energy barriers hummed to life, sealing them in. Are you okay? Taemin called out. I'm fine, Jiwoo shouted back, just planning how to break every bone in their bodies. Despite everything, Taemin smiled. That was Jiwoo. Never give up. In the cell next to Taemin, something moved in the shadows. An alien stepped into the dim light. It was old, with sagging skin that was pale blue. It walked with a limp and its eyes looked tired. You are human, the alien said in perfect human language. How do you know our language? Taemin asked. I have been here a long time. I learned many things. The alien sat down slowly. My name is Wealth. I am Praxian. Once my people were powerful. Now we are few. Why are you here? The Vorath take who they wish. Study who they wish. Kill who they wish. Wealth looked at Taemin with sad eyes. But they have made a terrible mistake with you. What do you mean? There are laws in this galaxy, old laws. Laws that existed before most civilizations were born. Wealth moved closer to the barrier between their cells. One law stands above all others. Do not harm the species of persistence. Species of persistence? What's that? Species who survive anything. Who adapt to anything. Who never stop fighting. Wealth's voice dropped to a whisper. Your people have been watched since you first reached for the stars. The Ancient Ones marked you. Protected you. Protected? We're in a prison. Yes? And the Vorath do not know what they have done. Wealth lay down on the hard floor. They have broken the oldest law. Now something will happen. Something always happens when that law is broken. Taman wanted to ask more questions, but guards appeared. They pointed at him through the barrier. You, the human, come with us. The barrier dropped. Taman was pulled into the corridor. He looked back at Jiwoo. Don't worry about me, she called out. Just come back. I will, Taman promised. As the guards dragged him away, he heard Wealth's voice one last time. The awakening has begun. Taman didn't understand what that meant. But he knew one thing for certain. The Vorath thought humans were weak. They thought humans were nothing. They were about to learn how wrong they were. This was just the first battle. What do we do now? Bora asked. Sung-ho looked at the stars. Somewhere out the war spread across the stars like wildfire. What started as a rescue mission became a full conflict between humanity and the Vorath Empire. Neither side would back down. Neither side would surrender. In the 6 months since the Battle of Harvest 7, humanity had changed. Earth's factories worked day and night. New ships launched every week. Young people volunteered for military service in record numbers. The entire species was united by one simple fact. Someone had attacked them and they would not forget. Admiral Sung-ho stood in the war room, looking at a map of the galaxy. Red markers showed Vorath territory. Blue markers showed human space. Purple markers showed active battle zones. There were too many purple markers. The Vorath hit our supply convoy at the Kepler Junction, Bora reported. She looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. We lost 3 cargo ships but destroyed 2 of their destroyers. Acceptable trade, said Wu Jin, the strategic warfare coordinator. He was a thin man with sharp eyes who saw patterns in chaos. The Vorath rely on their supply chains more than we do. Every ship they lose hurts them more. But they still have more ships than us, someone pointed out. For now, Sung-ho said. But ship numbers don't win wars. Will wins wars, and they're learning that humans don't run out of will. He was right. The Vorath had superior technology and more territory, but they were facing an enemy unlike any they had fought before. Humans were adaptable, creative, unpredictable. Most importantly, humans refused to quit. In the Dracon system, Minseo led her fighter squadron through an asteroid field. Behind her, a Vorath cruiser was trying to track them. The Vorath had better sensors, but Minseo had better instincts. Red Squadron, split formation, she ordered. Alpha pattern. Her pilots broke in 6 different directions. The Vorath cruiser couldn't track them all. It fired at one, missed, and then suddenly realized it was surrounded. 20 fighters opened fire at once. The cruiser's shields overloaded. Its engines exploded. Another Vorath ship destroyed. Good kill, Minseo said. Reform and return to carrier. We've got 2 more patrols today. Her pilots were exhausted, but they didn't complain. This was war. You kept fighting until you won or died. There was no middle ground. On the ground, the war was even more brutal. The Vorath tried to capture a human mining colony on Titan Station. They sent 500 elite soldiers. Lieutenant Yunji was there with only 50 Marines. The odds were terrible. The miners had evacuated, so it was just soldiers versus soldiers in the dark tunnels under Titan's surface. They're coming through Tunnel 7, a Marine reported. Collapse it, Yunji ordered. Explosives brought down the tunnel roof. 30 Vorath soldiers were buried, but more kept coming. The battle lasted 3 days in those dark tunnels. Hand-to-hand combat, knife fights, desperate struggles in spaces too small for proper weapons. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found Unji and 12 Marines still holding their position. They had killed over 200 Vorath soldiers. How? The reinforcement commander asked, staring at the carnage. Yunji wiped blood from her face. We're human. We don't know how to quit. The Vorath Empire was learning this lesson the hard way. Every battle cost them more than expected. Every victory felt hollow because humans would just rebuild and attack again. Empress Valthara sat on her throne, reading reports. She was the supreme ruler of the Vorath Empire, and she was worried. The war was not going as planned. We have lost 47 ships in the last month, her advisor said. The humans have lost 32, but they're building new ships faster than we can destroy them. How is that possible? We have more shipyards, more resources. The humans are efficient, Your Majesty. They don't build beautiful ships. They build functional ships, fast ships, and their crews are willing to die for every meter of space. Valthera stood and walked to a window overlooking her capital city. The Vorath Empire had lasted for 10,000 years. They had conquered countless species, and now they were being challenged by a species that had only been in space for a few decades. What about their morale? She asked. Surely after 6 months of war they must be weakening. No, Your Majesty. The advisor looked uncomfortable. If anything, their resolve is strengthening. They broadcast their battles, share their victories and defeats. Every time one of their ships is destroyed, 100 more volunteers sign up. It's like they feed on adversity. Velthara was silent for a long moment. What have we unleashed? The war had other effects too. The galaxy was watching. Every species was seeing how humanity fought. Some were impressed. Others were frightened. But everyone was paying attention. The Galactic Council called emergency sessions constantly. Ambassador Dayun attended everyone, and each time she grew bolder. The Vorath Empire violated our sovereignty, kidnapped our people, attacked our colonies. Dayun's voice echoed through the chamber. We asked for justice. You did nothing. So we took justice ourselves, the Vorath representative hissed. You declare yourselves victims, but you wage total war. You fight without honor, without mercy. You want to talk about mercy? Dayun pulled up images on the screens. These are Vorath prison camps we've liberated. Not just human prisoners. Your people imprisoned hundreds of species, experimented on them, tortured them. Where was your mercy? The chamber erupted in angry voices. Species that had lost people to Vorath research demanded answers. The Vorath Empire's allies started questioning their support. Da'un pressed the advantage. Humanity is not asking for help. We will win this war ourselves if necessary, but we want the galaxy to remember who the real villains are. Meanwhile, the war continued. Humanity developed new tactics constantly. They used psychological warfare, broadcasting propaganda into Vorath space. They used guerrilla tactics, hitting supply lines and retreating before the enemy could respond. They even used humor, which confused the Vorath completely. One human ship broadcast a message before every battle. You're about to have a very bad day. We apologize in advance for the inconvenience of destroying you. The Vorath didn't understand jokes. They didn't understand why an enemy would apologize while attacking. It threw off their tactics. Wu Jin studied these psychological effects carefully. The Vorath think war is about calculations, logistics, numbers. They don't understand that war is about hearts and minds. And humans have both in abundance. He developed new strategies based on this insight. Human ships would retreat from losing battles but leave behind messages taunting the Vorath. They would win battles, then broadcast offers of surrender that were obviously not serious. It was all designed to make the enemy emotional, angry, irrational, and it worked. Vorath commanders started making mistakes, taking unnecessary risks, pursuing human ships into traps. At the Battle of Crimson Nebula, Commander Krell finally faced Admiral Sung Ho directly. Their fleets met in the swirling red clouds of the nebula. Sensors were limited. Visibility was poor. It was perfect conditions for chaos. We have them outnumbered 2-1, Krell's tactical officer said. Numbers mean nothing against humans, Krell growled. He had learned that lesson several times now. Stay in formation. Don't chase their fighters. Don't break ranks, but Sung Ho had other plans. He sent Minseo's fighters to harass the Vorath fleet, drawing them deeper into the nebula. Then he had his capital ship circle around and attack from behind. The Vorath fleet found itself surrounded. In the red mist, they couldn't tell which sensor readings were real and which were false. Human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. This is Admiral Sung Ho to Commander Krell, came a transmission. You have one chance to surrender. Take it. Never. Krell shouted. Suit yourself, Sung Ho said calmly. The human fleet opened fire from all sides. The battle was brutal and short. Half the Vorath fleet was destroyed. The other half scattered and ran. Krell's flagship was crippled but not destroyed. As human ships moved in to capture it, Krell looked at the screens showing his defeated fleet. He had been a commander for 30 years. He had won hundreds of battles, and now he was beaten by a species that was barely out of its own solar system a century ago. How did they do it? He whispered. His tactical officer, wounded but alive, answered quietly. They fight like every battle is their last, like they have nothing to lose and everything to gain. They fight like it's personal, and that was the truth. For humanity, this war was personal. The Vorath had taken their people, had hurt their families, had threatened their homes. Every human in the fleet knew someone affected by the war. Every human fought for something bigger than themselves. The captured Vorath soldiers were treated well, which confused them. The Vorath didn't understand mercy toward defeated enemies. But humans had rules. Even in war, there were lines they wouldn't cross. Why do you treat us kindly? A Vorath prisoner asked Taman, who was now serving as a liaison officer. Because you're beaten. The war is over for you. Taman handed the prisoner water. We don't kick people when they're down. That's not who we are, then you are fools. We would not show you such mercy. I know, Taman said. That's the difference between us. The war reached a turning point at the Battle of Azure Gate. This was a major Vorath stronghold system, heavily defended. If humans could take it, they could strike at the heart of the